All those years, want to come to the Garden,
But
want
I
to be
want to
a
play in the
Knick.
Garden. And, it's the best place to play. If I could play here all the time, one of many that just spurned us. So over it. So over it.
Yo, so we're recording this prior to Game 2 for Toronto Sixers, Jazz Mavericks, Nuggets Warriors. So what I want to do here is I kind of want to touch on like the game ones for some of these matchups.
Okay.
And I'm not an overreaction guy, but these are going to be some like overreactions to game ones. There's like 4 series where kind of don't need to see anything else. I'm kind of like, man, we're only just like getting these guys workouts in as far as continuing this series. I know
Yeah.
in the past it used to be a 5-game series. That was a little more interesting because like if you did pull an upset, it's like, all right, now you just got to win.
Yeah, you're a lot closer to the upset.
Yeah,
And
where it's like 7 now. It's hard for Chicago, right? And open up with them. Like I feel like that was a game Chicago could have won against Milwaukee.
should have won.
They came back, took the lead too. At one point, I couldn't believe how low scoring it was because it was like 79-78 with like 4 minutes left in the fourth. I'm like, I thought March Madness ended. Like March, that was a March Madness
It's so
kind
funny
of
because that
score.
reminds me of my homie Jordan. He just, like shits on college ball all the time. He's just like the score is too low. Like I'd rather watch hoops.
Gotta
And
bet
it's
the
like,
unders,
exactly.
yo. Bet the unders in the game.
So when people
Capitalize on
when people
that.
mention stuff like that with a score, it like reminds me of him. Shout out to the homie. But yeah, it's like that was one for them to win, and like I got the Bucks running it back honestly. So like seeing that, I was just like, damn, is this like a tune up? Like who isn't like who wasn't ready? And it's like I think a few people missed some critical free throws for the Bulls, and it's like they should have stole that. They definitely should have. But that's one of the few that I think it's like they're not getting out that series.
I came into the playoffs thinking that one was going to be a sweep. And for as bad as Milwaukee played, like they had some bad turnovers too. And Middleton just like he was last year. I kept talking about it throughout the whole playoffs. Like they just need Middleton and Drew to combine together to not shit the bed. Like combined, you can't have those like 12 of 37s from the field.
Yeah.
11 of 40.
I was looking at the box, and Middleton had a terrible box score. So I feel like that's the reason they struggle the most. In that
Yeah,
game.
that's the thing because like Giannis at this point, he's almost just like bulletproof in the sense of what you're getting from him.
Yep.
It's like 25, 10, and 6 is
Every
a bad
night.
game for
He had
him.
11 rebounds through 2 quarters yesterday.
Bro, he was dogging him. He ends with 16, right? And it's like you're looking at Middleton 4 of 13. You're looking at Drew 6 of 16, and it's like they got something out of Brook, which was nice.
That was nice to see.
And with Giannis, it's like you just know what to expect with him. It's like the other guys, you just gotta, at worst, have a B- game. You can't be having like C- and D+ kind of games. And that's
Yeah.
how I felt watching it with Middleton. And Drew played a little better because Drew also gives it to you on the defensive side.
Exactly.
So it's like, all right, man, even if my shot's not falling, at least I know that defensively, you're always going to bring it there.
Right.
So that's why, like, between the two of them, I feel like Drew means a little bit more.
He does. Like last year down the stretch, he was clutch. Like Giannis was deferring to him. Giannis is the man, but he was deferring to, Chris. And Chris came up clutch. Like, he's definitely got that in him. So people starting to doubt him less. So when he has these games, he's just like, all right, like, I know you do this sometimes, but, like, we need you to pull through because that's how we're going to win. And you're right. That's what they need for them not to underperform, and they'll be good.
And if you're Chicago, like DeRozan shot terribly, 6 of 25, Levine 6 of 19, and then you're looking at that like, yo, you still almost stole that game,
Yeah.
and the fact that you didn't, it's like
Vooch had a great game. I was a little surprised by that.
Vooch. Yeah, I just have a problem with how trigger happy he is from 3. I think he shot like 9 or 10 threes.
He should not
It's
be
like,
doing that.
Yeah, that's a little too much,
Yeah.
man. It's a little too much at that point. But also, they don't really have like a 3-point shooter that's
Yeah.
money for them. But also, I don't want my big kind of
Yeah.
like, yo, when I watch basketball and the big guy is the go-to scorer down the stretch, not that Vucevic is, but I'm talking about like one of the issues that I have with the Sixers is like when Embiid's my go-to scorer, kind of irks me.
I feel you.
I needed to be a wing. I needed to be a guy that could create his own shot.
Yeah, I think they're a little bit more elusive, and it's like they might get the calls and stuff like that. So I feel you on that sense. But Embiid is just
Yeah, but I
savage.
think it limits you offensively,
It does.
too.
It does.
It's like I throw it down low, back to the basket, whereas, like, I'm at the top of the key, or I'm on the wing. There's just so much shit that I could do.
True.
And there's a couple of series we'll get into in just a sec. But, they win 93-86. And it's like, that was the game. It's always game ones. Like, I know in the betting world, they always say, like, if you want to take the underdog to win the series, game one is the game they need to have. Like, over time, I think it's like 80% of the time, like, the winner of game ones in the first round goes on to win the series. Mm-hmm. So, if you're looking at, like, you're an underdog, and they were, like, plus 800 to win this series. So, $100 wins you $800 if you took the Bulls. But, like, I had Milwaukee winning in 4, at worst in 5. Mm-hmm. Like, I'll be shocked if it goes 6 games.
Yeah, I don't expect the 6 games.
I think the Brooms are out in this one.
I think the Bulls will get 1 game. Just maybe on one of those, like Chris and Drew need to tune up a little bit more. Like, Giannis is always locked. So, like, he's the staple. He's the lock every game, every series, I think. So, like, if they don't have those type of performances they did game 1, they'll sweep. But I think they're tuning up. And it's a good tune-up for them because it's like you can't have those against, like, both teams they might see in the second round, Celtics or Nets.
Yeah.
Can't be fucking around with them. You cannot. Yeah.
How crazy was that game yesterday, bro?
That was the most entertaining game I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
I was like, like I'm a Knicks fan, so like I honestly just root against the Nets hard body because it's, the fans.
But, are you conflicted because
like,
they're going up against the Celtics?
No.
Nah?
No.
Okay. Because of Boston, No, we don't hate Boston as much.
Not as much. Like, I haven't hated Boston like that since Paul Pierce, and he's been gone for a little while.
Yeah.
Because he's a fucking dog, the Knicks.
Nick Killer.
But, like, now I like Tatum. I like Brown. Like, shout out to Ime Udoka. I remember him when he was a player. He wasn't really shit. Now he's recreated himself as a coach. And they were pretty trash. They kind of went on a second-half run like we did last year, but even better because they got a better defense, and they got their identity. So, like, I like Tatum a lot. So, seeing him even get that game winner, he probably doesn't get that a few years ago. Like, maybe puts a little too much English on it, and it rolls out, and that's win that game, and they win the series just because they got that one first game. But what an exciting game. What a crazy ending.
It sucks because I love Kyrie, man. Like, I think...
even that was...
But,
I had fun with it. Like, I just had a laugh at it,
I was telling my friends in my group chat, and I think I might have tweeted out how at halftime when that video surfaced, when the fan was like, yo, you suck. He's like, yo, suck my dick. That was the Reggie Miller moment, though.
Yeah.
That if they go on to win that game and if they won that series, that would have been the moment where, like, remember Spike Lee to Reggie?
Yep.
And then Reggie just went fucking bananas.
Yep.
I hate that it happened to the Knicks because that's one of the craziest sports moments of all time. But that would have been the Kyrie Reggie Miller moment where the fans were talking mad shit throughout, and then he just like step double clutch.
You could tell that they just got him going too, though, because it's like he's like I definitely have shitted on Kyrie a lot. I talk a lot of shit about him, but he's definitely one of the most skilled, if not the most skilled player I've seen dribble the ball, play ball. Like, he's just so different.
We were talking about it with Jarrell. I asked him just, what the hell? Oh, my God. That's a first. I'm like, whose phone is ringing?
I looked at mine.
Yo, fuck. We were talking about it with Jarrell about how does home court, like, really matter? And he was like, yes and no. And we were talking about, like, Kyrie and Durant. Guys of that level, like LeBron, Curry. They don't give a fuck where they're playing.
Nope.
At this point in their careers, they've been like, he went through those Cavs Warriors runs where they're playing game 6s and 7s in Golden State.
Yes.
Like, they don't care at this point. Like, Durant also. So, Kyrie, like, the booing, I don't think that bothers guys like that. I think it fires them up.
Yeah.
It really fires them up. But there is, like, a certain line that gets crossed. And he was talking about it post-fight. It's like certain shit you can't say. Like, if you say, yo, you suck, or my favorite is like, yo, he's with us, when a guy misses a jump shot, and it's a road team, he's like, yo, don't worry, yo, he's with us. Like, that's like a cool jab at him. But like, when you start talking about people's families, You start talking about people's wives.
But he like doubled down during the whole game. Like he said that during halftime, probably they got that sound bit. They got him hitting a shot, walking up the court, throwing it up. Him waiting on the inbounds, throwing two of them up behind his head. So it's just like super blatant, you know. So I'm just like, yo, this is like, I haven't seen something like this. But obviously, who knows what they're yelling at him out in Boston. So and they hate him for like stepping on the logo, like, you know, like initially I got it because he was just like, yo, I'm gonna be in the Garden forever when he first got traded there. Dipped quick. So quick. Like that was the first strike against him. Second was definitely the rubbing on the logo. Like, all right, like, you know, he was saging the place at a certain point. So it's just like the history is there, and it's just like you could just tell with that first game. Yeah, it was just, I want all 7 games.
Yeah, man, I know, and also like in particular this game, like they were eating up Durant, man.
Yo,
like that first half, it looked.
That final play was, you know, like, where was he? What was he doing? Like, all the memes and all that, you know, like, which makes me think he's going to go out for, like, 40 the next game.
I'm betting the over on his, whatever the points are, he's going for 40. Yeah, so, I felt like, the same way, so I'm glad that you mentioned that.
Yeah, so, like, seeing that and, like, seeing that he wasn't as impactful as he normally is or, like, should have been. And it's, like, it's also, what was it? They're missing one of their best defensive players, Robert Williams, who they're saying might come back at the end of the series, which is going to be huge. And you mentioned it too, having a 7-game series. I think these first round series are spread out like into May. So it's like if you have a game 7, it might be first week of May, and it's just like, damn, like someone that could come back from injury that late in the game and help them win is important. But my main point is Bruce Brown was like, yo, they don't got him. We could go in on.
They showed the tweet up on the
and good for them. It's just like motivation to the fan. It's just like it just has the juiciest storylines, and it's gonna be one of those that. I hope it goes 7, and you know I wouldn't mind whoever wins that because it's just like you're gonna earn that series because it's gonna be a goodie.
Yeah, you're gonna get beaten up in that one because a lot of times, like when you're a top seed like that, when you're a 1-2 seed, for the most part, you kind of get out of there in 5 games.
And then that's the good for a bit. Like let's rewind. The Celtics took care of the job. They're at home. They're supposed to win that game.
Yeah.
Almost didn't. There was a lot of lead changes in the fourth quarter. They were up like 14 at a certain point. So, like, if they would have fumbled that would have been pretty bad. And that was off the strength of just Kyrie having a monster game. So, like, KD comes back with the Kyrie, and the next game, it's like they could steal it, and they'll be in great shape. So, that's going to be so fun.
Yeah, my friend Josh, he's been on the pod a bunch. We were going to get on Xbox after the game. He's like, yo, game's over. I'm getting on Xbox. And my buddy Dunbar, he was like, yo, it's far from over, bro. It's far because when you got guys like Kyrie and Durant, all you need is Kyrie to just go nuclear like he was going.
Exactly.
And then at that point, the game's tied, and then they have the lead. Yo, I tweeted this out, and I want to get your thoughts on this. People are holding out on Ben Simmons coming back, and like how he's like this really big X factor.
He is.
He absolutely is. And this is one of the reasons why I hate social media because, like, you can't really express your thoughts in just, like, tweets because you're just reading a sentence.
Certain amount of characters.
But it's like, it's not that he's not an impactful player. Yeah, he's all NBA defense. He's a facilitator. I get that. My thing was, and I tell my friends and I tell people, like, you got to limit your expectations on this. Dude hasn't played basketball in a year. He just started scrimmaging with them, I believe, on Friday, the 5-on-5.
So the clip where he dunked, and he's just like, yo, get this.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, people getting real excited over it. And I'm just like, you still don't know what he's going to get from him, you know? Like,
and it's also, you're coming right back into a high-level, high-intensity kind of game.
He hasn't played since that series where he's just been a prisoner of the moment when he didn't take that dunk.
Yeah.
Didn't take that
Which
layup.
is why I think he said take this. Because it was like him dunking, not so much that he was like, yes. But where I'm getting to with Simmons is like, yo, I think we need to tamper expectations because dude hasn't played in a year.
No,
and you're putting him into this kind of series, into playoff basketball immediately. So like, yeah, is he gonna have an impact? I'm sure he will, but I also think like you can't that's not the same guy coming in.
No.
And you want him to what? Guard Jaylen Brown and Tatum right off rip? Like,
that's gonna be what he has to do. Is he has to be that defensive force, like, you know, like let everything else come to him. Like, he's a great passer. He's a tall dude, so it's like running up the court, holding the ball. But it's like KD and Kyrie need the ball in their hands too. So it's like, what is he really gonna be on this team? But if he's that X factor defender that's gonna shut down a Jaylen Brown, or they're gonna throw him on Tatum maybe and let Kyrie and Durant just get a little bit more energy, not being that defenders that they need them to be, it's going to be a big X factor for them. I think he's supposedly due back game 4.
Yeah. Sure, I agree. I just think that, like, that's asking a lot, man. For when you haven't played all year. You haven't gotten no tune-up, and immediately you're going in there. And I get it. He's no longer – the expectations for him have also lessened too. Like, you don't need him to be the guy, the main facilitator. You got Kyrie, you got Durant. And it's like, slide in. But you also haven't played with these guys too.
Yeah.
And
that was huge. That was huge
for
what they were doing last year. It's like, all right, they got these 3 guys and, well, not even. They got Harden this year. Then they at the beginning of the year. So it's just like.
No, last year. They got him last year, yeah.
So they had him last year, and they were never healthy enough that.
I think they played when the playoffs started. I think they played like 8 games together.
Exactly. So it's like, you're right. I didn't even think about that too. He hasn't been able to gel with them. Gelling in practice versus gelling in a game is totally different. Like, game situations, you got to be ready for that type of stuff. Yeah, I would agree. You have to temper expectations on Ben Simmons. He's going to be the X factor, but like, he shouldn't be the X factor.
That's all I was getting at. It's like, yo, I just think it's asking a lot for a dude who he's been on record saying that he's mentally fragile and he's had his issues with like mental health stuff, and he gets attacked by the media, and he has a lot of pressure on him too coming into this. And you just want him immediately to go into a playoff situation, high intensity. I think it's asking a lot.
It is.
That's all I was getting at. And I would feel the same way for like Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray coming back off the ACL, and they're like, oh yeah, he might be back for the playoffs. It's like, man, that's asking a lot, yo. That's asking a lot.
Man, I wish he would play ball. I like Jamal Murray.
I want to talk about that series too. Let's segue into that. Now, game 2 will have come and went probably by the time you guys hear this, or you might be hearing this as it's happening because it's going to be tonight. Golden State is up 1-0. This is another one where I think I've seen enough. I don't need to see much more.
I agree.
It's just Jokic, for me, I would probably vote for him for MVP.
I agree. I think I would too.
And I have a big issue with the NBA and the NFL when they wait to give out their awards 6 to 8 weeks after the season is done.
Yeah.
Because you know what's going to happen, right? If Embiid and Giannis go on this tear and they go to the conference finals, and then they're going to have the awards and they're going to give it to Jokic, who gets probably swept in the first round.
A lot of this sports stuff has become narrative-based, too. It's just
absolutely.
Like... so
it's
just,
all narrative-based.
Yeah, so it's like...
And, I think this started because of the NBA. I really think we never spoke about MVP 10 games into the season. No. You would kind of have it around All-Star break, be like, oh, who was the first half MVP? And you'd give your takes. All right, who do you think could maybe catch him? This guy, that guy.
Yeah.
What I think happened was during the 2010s, LeBron was so dominant. The Warriors were so dominant. You knew that one of them were going to go to the finals. Hell, 4 straight years they played each other in the finals. So what I think happened was NBA media, NBA Twitter, NBA pundits, analysts, all that sort of collectively without addressing it.
It's a social media effect too, because the listicles, the lists, the rankings, the ladders, like all this stuff for all sports. It's just like power rankings.
Yeah, so it would become, instead of like, all right, we know who's going to make it to the finals. Like, why do we even care? All right, let's talk about MVP. Everyone cares about that. There's so many stars. It's a star-driven league. So let's talk about Russ. Durant's not there no more. Let's talk about Giannis. Let's talk about Kawhi. Let's talk about these guys. And then you create these. DeRozan's the MVP for the first 2 months. And then before you know it, there's a whole subculture of just talking about MVP and Rookie of the Year. It's the same shit that's happened into the NFL, too. Yeah, people are giving out. I mean, I was jumping up and down for Justin Herbert after a month. I was like, oh, shit.
I recall.
He's the favorite. Let's get it.
He's still on the train. I see
the train is going on for a decade, bro.
And I see it, though. He has the lane.
But
he'll get it, but like maybe on the year that you don't pick him.
Nah, I'll probably bet him. He won't have the same odds, though. He'll probably be like the favorite, and that's when he'll win it. But that's what I think like NBA media became. So going back to Jokic, I think this series is done too.
Yeah.
I think Curry coming back. Poole has been balling the last.
Listen, one of those lineups I wanted to bring up just because I saw it, like someone else speaking on it. I think they had a Poole, Clay, Draymond, it just looks crazy. They have so many looks. They're breaking down all the defenses. Any of them can hit a shot, or like they don't need Draymond to hit the shot, but he's gonna hit the open pass. And it's like I think they had mentioned they only played like 8 minutes together with that one lineup, but they looked ridiculous. So it's just like I think Drake threw like some bread on them to win it all. Not even Toronto in there, and those are his boys, but they look crazy. So I'm like, all right, like it's kind of cool to see them back together again because you thought like, all right, Clay got hurt out for a while. Curry got hurt end of year. It's like, are they ever gonna get to do it again? And they look phenomenal. And like we mentioned with the Bucks having the Bulls as a first round tune up, I think the Nuggets are a great first round tune up for them because it's like they get that series. Like I think that's a sweep.
Curry coming back after the injury.
He came off the bench yesterday, so it's just like and Poole is their X factor because he's just like playing his ass off.
Yeah. Nah, man, that's a good point. I didn't think about that being like a tune-up for them, and that's exactly what you would want, especially Curry coming back off the injury and not so much being 100%. And even Draymond, too. Like, Draymond missed a lot of time this year also.
Yeah,
and Clay's still not like 100%. I don't know if he'll ever be 100%, but he's still – now you're in the playoffs. Like, you didn't play playoff basketball for all this time. Jokic, I think, like – I want to say that I think this series is over, but I think Denver could take one game because Jokic is going to have a 40, 15, and 12. Like, he's going to have one of those games. And
it's going to be at home, and, like, that's always their, like, advantage.
And, like, Morris is going to hit some threes.
Playing in the altitude. Like,
exactly.
So, like, maybe they steal a game like that, but, like, it'll be a great tune-up for the Warriors, even if they get that extra fifth game, because it's just like, all right, cool. Let's get that extra game under our belt with us playing these certain lineups and people, and it's like, they're not going to do it off the strength of Jokic, even though he's had a phenomenal 2 years in a row. Like, probably the best center in the league, and that's saying something with Embiid being who he is. But, yeah, it's like I don't want to, like you mentioned, I don't want anyone to discredit Jokic because it's like they're going to give the award out after the fact, and they're going to be like,
man, but
well,
they are.
Two years in a row he won MVP, and he left in the first round. It's a regular season award. It's not about the playoffs.
I know, but you already know, like, Stephen A. is going to have a segment on it. Like, everyone's going to just have, like, I can't believe we gave it. It was Giannis all along and shit like that. But, another guy, like Michael Porter Jr. after game one was like, I think I'm going to come back in the series. It's like, bro, you haven't played in 4 months.
He's not coming back. I think they ruled both of them out.
I would hope so. Because it's asking a lot, man.
They're good young players, so it's like, yeah, I would hope so, too, because if you have all three of them, they could, last year they made noise. They made some crazy noise.
And also, like, Porter in particular, like, dude's had this back injury since coming out of college.
Yeah.
It's a third, I don't know if it's surgery, but, like, third time he's missed time in the last, like, 4 years because of his back.
And he got the bag.
Yeah, I mean, good for him, but Denver, that was like, whoa.
Bold.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. It's funny, man. People get on the NFL for their contracts not being guaranteed, but it's the only league where you could go worst to first in one offseason because of the luxury of cutting ties with certain contracts. I know it sucks. It's awful. And I'm pro player.
Yep, same.
But if I'm playing devil's advocate and I'm looking from a business and organization standpoint, it's like, yo, you're stuck with these contracts.
Yep.
Whereas in the NFL, you give a guy $100 million, 60 of it is guaranteed. You could cut ties with him after 2 years. If he's not $100 million kind of player, I know it sucks. It's whack.
You know who's top of mind right now? Joakim Noah just came off the books. Come on, man.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
And we just had to eat it.
Yeah.
You're right. It is definitely one of the things with the NFL that it's like super pro player as well, but they do have the luxury to be like, all right, when they sign you to that deal, you get this much guaranteed, you make this much every year, but we could cut you when we want. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, all right. Sometimes they eat it. They're like, all right.
Yeah, bro.
Fuck it.
Sometimes teams just like, yo, and also that's how I would be if I ran a team. Harsh reality.
If you're a businessman and you gotta do what you gotta do, like, sometimes you gotta understand why they do what they do, even if you're a pro player, because it's like, especially when you're speaking about it so often, you're just like, all right, like, why do they do this, and like, how do we speak about it? And it's understandable. Is it foul? Most cases, definitely, but it makes sense.
Bro, I'd be the worst GM in all of sports. You drop a pass on third down, 3rd and like 4, and we lose the game because of that, or you get burned like on a Hail Mary before halftime, I'd be like, yeah, just give me your stuff now. We're not doing this.
Hilarious.
Leaving guys in San Francisco, coming back to New York, like, nah, we're not. I'd be all about.
Stay here.
Yeah, they would have picket signs outside of my office. Like, yo, we need this guy canceled. We need him fired. Like, for sure. But like, yo, fuck that.
Jokes.
Can't have it, man. Short fuse when it comes to that. Utah, Dallas. That's also going to be tonight. What do you think of that? No Luka, man.
That's one of my favorite series because I think Luka comes back in time to help them win the series because I just don't think the Jazz are about it. They almost lost that game.
I know.
And it's like, you got to, I mean, what I'm thinking about, and it's only because it's in the media rumors. So it's like, all right, Donovan Mitchell, dad's, works with the Mets front office, New York guy. They're like, yo, he's gonna come to New York.
We're not falling for that,
obviously,
bro. We need the.
But still, it's just like you see it, and it's just like
you get suckered in.
You get suckered into it, and you're just like, maybe. Like I think Worldwide West was at the game and stuff, so they're just like, that's how all the narratives start up and whatever. And he's already frustrated. I feel like him and Gobert just don't bang, and they're just gonna have to make a very big decision on which of those two they want to keep. And they just signed Gobert to that monster deal.
Yeah.
So it's just like, if they so happen to lose in the first round to a team without Luka within the first 2 games, they got to blow that shit up.
Yeah.
Because it's very possible. And it's like they had a lot of games down the stretch where they fumbled like that. So it's like in their DNA, Like I know they made a deep run last year and it looked pretty impressive, but they're just not the ones to me.
Nah, I'm so done with Utah. Just to me, they're like the Cowboys. Very nice in the regular season. They finish as a top seed like they did a couple years ago.
Yeah.
They have impressive performances like, they beat the Warriors by 30.
They're a phenomenal regular season team.
And then come playoff time,
every time.
And it ain't even, bro, I was talking about the first round bounce dance for the Cowboys from like Halloween. I was like, yo, whoever they play in the first round, we're taking against them, the Patriots and the Cardinals, and all 3 of them lost in the first round. I was like, yo, just don't see it. And it's not even like, you can't even call me a hater or a Cowboy hater. Like, yeah, I love the Giants, but was I wrong? It's the same shit we've seen all the time. Like, no wonder why Tom Brady came back. You're looking at the NFC, you're like,
that's true.
Who am I afraid of? The Rams? Yeah, I'm afraid of the Rams. I get it. They've lost a bunch of players. They got some guys also, but it's hard to repeat.
It is.
Green Bay's not the same team. The only other team that you're looking at is like Dallas. Come January, that's exactly who I want to play.
Utah is definitely within that same, like, cut from the same cloth. Great regular season team. Playoffs, not that great. Have some phenomenal talents on their team that are just, like, faces of the league, kind of, Like, Donovan Mitchell has become that. Gobert is definitely, he's the face of the league, kind of for the wrong reasons, because it's like some people like him, some don't.
Yeah.
A lot of people that don't like him, they just make it a priority to, like, just shit on him.
Yeah.
So it's just like...
I'm one of those people, too.
Fair.
Yeah. I have an issue with my center making that kind of money and being so one-dimensional. Like, yeah, you're all worldly defensively, but I've also seen you being drawn out by like Zubac in the playoffs, and then they're just exposing you also. So I don't like those one-dimensional kind of.
Yeah, I feel like to play up to his contract, he has to average like 20 boards, and it's like no one really does that. Like,
but also, it's not even the boards. It's like, yo, defensively, yeah, he's a presence, but come playoff time when teams have
they need him to score like more than 10 points, 12 points, and like that's what he's going to give you, like 10, 12 points.
And when a team is game planning for you for a whole week, they exploit him every single time. It's just like, yo,
and I feel like he's even mentioned that, like how he gets frustrated that he doesn't get the ball, and I think that's a little friction between him and Mitchell. I think there was a stat that there was only like a certain amount of passes between them in a game, and it's just like, yo, those are your 2 best players, and it's like that doesn't work. And they still win games, or they still have great records, which is just like, why doesn't it work? Or like, things of that nature. But like, I think they need this game. They need to go up 2-zip, because if Luka comes back in the 3rd game and he just turns up, because he had one of the better second halves out of anybody. He like, ridiculous. After like January, he was just like on another level, and it's like that's who everyone was expecting him to be for the last 2 years when they were like, yo, he's gonna win MVP.
Right.
And then January came off and he just took off, and I was just like, oh damn, like, so like I chose the Mavs like to win this series, just on the fact that I think Luka will come back and it'll be enough for them to win, especially because it's 7 games. We mentioned if it was a 5-gamer,
Yeah.
maybe it would have been like, all right, let's think about this a little bit differently. But if they steal a game like how they almost stole game 1, I'm just saying it's curtains for Utah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's gonna end ugly in Utah. If not this series, the next one. I mean, they're gonna play the Suns probably.
Yeah,
It's juggernaut, bro.
that's a buzzsaw.
That series is over too, right?
Yeah.
The Pelicans.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on that one.
I don't think we even have to speak on.
Yeah,
that one.
we don't.
But it was cool to see Chris Paul. He he went off last night.
He went bananas.
Like he was just like awesome. Like this is I'm me, I'm him, and it's just like all right. Like I like making jokes about him because he always just gets to the end and just doesn't do it. I call him CP Phoebe. It's a little joke between me and my homies, but I think they got a great shot to just get there and do it because they have everything. They did it in the regular season. They showed they could do it in the last playoffs. So it's just like, I think it's another great tune-up for them as well. That they're playing the Pelicans. The Pelicans have no shot.
Yeah. So the thing that I like about the Suns, and in the beginning of the year, I remember I made a big point of people were trying to find the surprise team this year to like make a run. And I was, my preseason prediction was, I'm pretty sure it was Bucks Suns to go back, right?
Agreed.
It's also the favorite now to be the finals. And the thing about the Suns is it's hard for you to go back to a finals.
So hard. Hard to repeat.
And especially when you bring back everyone, it's like, all right, is there the same drive? Sometimes I'm not a fan of that. Like when the Bucks brought everyone back after they won the Super Bowl, it's like, yeah, it sounds good on paper, but sometimes, and talking to Will when I was doing the pod with him, it's like, nah, you need to bring in those guys like what the Rams did. They brought in Allen Robinson.
Rams did some shit.
Yeah, and I don't know how they just find this money. It's like, how do you just sign these guys all the time? But what you do is you bring fresh blood into the locker room because they're going to be motivated. So they'll pick up Cooper Kupp, right? When like Kupp maybe, this is all hypothetical, but maybe Kupp is like BSing in practice. Or he's like, I got my ring. Allen Robinson's like, nah, man, like I want one too. So like then Kupp gets fired up. He's like, all right, we got some fresh blood.
Motivation.
Let's win one for him. Right? Like Von Miller got traded there. It's like, all right, we want to win one for Aaron Donald. Let's win one for Von also. So there's like motivation and shit. But with this team, the thing that I loved is that they brought everyone back, but all the guys were young too. And you have the grizzled vet in CP3. Exactly. Where it's not you're bringing back all these guys like the Celtics tried to do it when they won that title. Mm-hmm. And then they go to the finals. But they held on to that core a little too long. It's like
they did.
It's hard for you to go back and be successful when you got old heads on your team. I feel like you need young blood. And if you do bring back everyone, having young guys is
true. And a lot of those young guys got even better. Like Cam Johnson became a thing. Like Mikal Bridges.
Man.
He's an Iron Man right now. Hasn't missed a game. And he's like defensive stopper. Like great guy. Aiton's gotten so much better. Aiton had a great first game. Yeah,
he's a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year, Bridges.
He should get that probably.
Yeah, and like with Ayton, you still have the contract looming, so he's going to be balling out, so he could get paid, whether it's from the Suns or someone else. But this team, man, I think they lose 2 games until the finals.
Yeah.
Like, I think they just steamroll, kind of like they win this in 4. Next series, Jazz or Dallas would be interesting.
I think Dallas would be a better matchup for them.
Yeah, but with the Jazz, they beat them in 5. Like. And then if they play whoever they play, probably Golden State, I would say they end up playing. It's like that'll be fun, but I also think they handled them there too.
Yeah, most likely. I think the same.
What about the other 1-8 matchup, Hawks and the Heat? I was kind of surprised by that, man. I feel like the Hawks are a scrappy bunch. They're not worried about where they play, but they just got their shit punched by the Heat.
I think it's a testament to Spoelstra. I think Spoelstra was just like very prepared. He's always really prepared, and he's just like, Trey had 8 points. Like, they're not going to win if their best player scores 8 points, and it's just like he's the guy that's built for the hostile environments, feeds off the crowd, screaming at him and all that, like he had a great plan with those 2 games, and it's like they weren't supposed to win some of those games. They probably should have lost to the Cavs, and off the strength of him, they're there. So I'm not expecting him to have a performance like that again, unless they just like kind of game plan around that again. But I think that one's done too.
Yeah. Miami, man, the sleeping giant, I think. I feel like not enough people are, even as a 1 seed. Like, I've been high on Miami all year. I just love the culture, the Heat culture. I know sometimes it's a little cringe with how much they run into the ground.
Yeah.
But
super cringe to me. I don't like the Heat. I think it's because one of my homies is a huge Heat fan, and he's just like the super antagonizer, like the villain of our group chats. Shout out to Justin.
I got a friend like that too, who's a Heat fan. But
they're good. No, they're good.
Yeah, and they're deep too, right? Like they played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Duncan
7.
Robinson had a crazy game.
They played 12 guys in that playoff game, man.
Damn.
You don't really do that, and
no, they'll shorten that up.
Yeah, like 3 of them got 5 minutes, but they all scored points. Like Duncan went crazy, Hero off the bench, Vincent.
Hero's good, man.
Yeah,
I think that's one of those where they're just gonna, like we mentioned, there's a few crazy series that might go 7 and it's gonna be, but then there's a few that's just like, all right, cakewalk, tune up, get ready.
You know who the key is for them, right? Come playoff time.
Who's that?
Tucker.
Yeah.
Yo, that guy, man, I'll never forget when he was with the Rockets and they were going on those runs and they run into the Warriors. Him just like catching rebounds over Boogie, Green, and Durant.
The Rockets
and
were
being like the only big guy. And then
he a few games from like taking one of those series with the Warriors. So it's like he was definitely one of those players. So it's like he was on the Bucks last year.
Yep.
Really important player for them. So you're right. He doesn't really have that like, all right, he's gonna score a lot that game, or like I think he had like 16 points, which is a lot for him. And if you're getting that from him consistently, or like if he's hitting a couple threes, it's just like people got to respect him a little bit more. And like he's the vet that you're just like, all right, he's gonna gas people up like, yo, Heat culture, or like, yo, we're gonna win.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it'll be pretty cool if it's like Bucks versus them. And that's going to be like a dogfight. It's going to be a real test to like. I think the Bucks would repeat if they get through like the Heat, because it's going to be a real tough battle with them.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only time they could play each other is in the Eastern Conference Finals, and it's the last 2 reps that went to the finals for the East.
True.
And they both at some point had to run into each other.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be a fun matchup. But I think Miami you kind of move on to the next round.
Yeah. I feel you on that, because, like, I mean, we could pivot into that series. It's like I think they'll definitely be either the Sixers or, the Raptors.
I came into the playoffs wanting to pick the Raptors to pull the upset, and then after game 1, they get slapped around. But also they lost a lot of guys to, like, injuries.
I think you spoke about it, too. It's just like everyone started saying, oh, the Raptors are going to do it, and then that's kind of like, all right, let me just, like, take a step back.
Bro, it's concerning when everyone's on that. You know what team got the most action to win the World Series this year?
The Mets?
The Mets. Fuck. I don't like hearing that. I don't like hearing that at all. But that's how it was with the Raptors. Everyone's, like, upset pick. Because, look, technically the Nets are an underdog to the Celtics, but, like, if the Nets beat the Celtics, no one's like, oh, my God, how'd that happen?
Exactly.
So, to me, that's not an underdog, right? Because
No.
that's basically it was a pick-em as far as who's going to win that series. Now it's changed, obviously, because the Celtics won game 1. But, like, the Raptors was a real upset. And then it became so popular that it was everyone's trendy upset pick in the first round. I'm like, all right, they're probably going to get the shit punched in.
And I didn't think about that either, because I had the Raptors, and, like, I still have some hope for them, because it's like with some of those series, that's one of those where I don't want to pick one yet, because, like, the Sixers just had a crazy first game. And it's like Maxi's not going to give you 40 every game.
Yeah.
Like, I think Harden's the biggest fraud in the playoffs. So, like, he has to show up. And Embiid's just not going to carry that team in the playoffs. He could do it in the regular season, but, like, he's going to need Maxey to chip in. He's going to need Harden to do what he's doing. And Harden hasn't really showed up, like, even since he's gotten traded there. I know you spoke with Jarrell last week on some, like, yo, when the Nets destroyed them, it's like, I think it hurt his confidence and his ego, and it's like just waiting for him to appear again.
We call that soul snatching. Kyrie just violated.
Listen.
Look, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens in game 2. Because also another thing in the playoffs, one thing to monitor, like from a betting perspective, it's called the Zigzag Theory, right? So it's like when a team loses and they like get blown out, like they lost by 20, right? The next game, it tends to be a lot closer.
Right.
So, like, I would probably take the Raptors tonight plus 7.5 is the line right now. Like, I think it's a tighter game.
Is Barnes out for that game? Because that would be the worst loss for them.
He's doubtful. So that's rough. But OG, when he steps in for Barnes this year, he's averaging 23 a game.
That's a great player.
So, yeah, it sucks because Barnes, I feel like Barnes should be Rookie of the Year. I don't think he wins it, but what he did for them all year, both sides, and he had to, right? Not a lot of people thought Toronto was going to be this good. So, factoring that in, because, like, usually Rookie of the Year, it's more of like a stat-driven award. Mm-hmm. But to me, that kind of is a deciding factor when I have guys that are kind of close. Because, like, Mobley missed time, right? Cade missed time to start the year. So when you balance all that out, I'm like, yo, Barnes was there all year. They needed him.
Yeah.
I would probably give him the edge. So, yeah, him being out is going to be super key. But I think the Raptors keep it close game 2. If they could steal game 2, that's going to be fun because,
exactly.
you know, Thibault can't play in Canada.
Huge.
And that's huge for the Sixers. So that's going to be something to definitely monitor, and I'm excited to watch this game in a couple minutes. Actually,
Sixers got to win that as some, like, you know, taking care of business at home kind of thing, because it's like if you lose a game at home and it's like they don't got Scotty, or like, you know, they let him rest for a game and let him come back in Toronto where you don't got Thibault, and that's a little chink in their defensive armor.
They kind of got a good home court advantage too. Like the fans are.
And Nick Nurse is a hell of a coach.
Yeah, man.
So it's
Nurse
like,
is the truth.
and Doc kind of just like shits the bed occasionally. So it's like, I feel like Maxey helped him out huge in that first game. So it's like, is Maxey gonna keep doing that? Is Nurse gonna game plan for Maxey a little bit more? Let Harden show his true colors and see if Harden has a little breakout. So I think he'll game plan for him. That's gonna be an interesting one.
The last series that we haven't touched on is Minnesota and Memphis. I'll be honest, it surprised me.
Probably one of the more exciting ones, too, because it's just like, I feel like everyone was on Memphis. I definitely was on Memphis, too, on some, like, you know, like, and it just, like we mentioned, narratives. Like, they locked up that spot, and Pat Bev's jumping on tables like Kobe, and it's just like, so it's just like, you know, but then, like, you take a step back, and it's kind of like, all right, like, who has one of the most talented players in the whole thing? It's probably Cat. So, like, he had a terrible playing game, but I think he was just kind of doing too much. And then his team just kind of put the team on their back, blessed him. But Ant Edwards, man, like, not that I doubted him or anything, but he just, like, showed up a lot faster than I thought he would have. Because he had a crazy game. He's had a hell of a season, and it's just, like, his persona is amazing for the league. So, like, he's going to be around for a while doing the do. But it was all in on Memphis. It was all John Morant. It was all, like, you know, Desmond Bane for most improved, and, like, Jaren Jackson leading the league in blocks. So it's like they got that young core, exciting core. I don't know if you caught that clip, but Ja tweeted something from The Last Dance today.
I saw it.
That was hilarious. So I'm just like, yo, that's going to be one that you just really got to tune into. So it's like, and they got their backs against the wall. They got to win that because, you know.
Oh, you can't go down 2-0 going back into Minnesota.
Exactly.
For sure.
Shout out to my boy A-Rod. He changing the culture out there.
Yeah, he is. That's right. That's right, man. And look, they got a lot of, I mean, Edwards is fascinating because one of my friends, Combo, he's been on the show a couple times. He loves Edwards. He's like, yo, that dude's going to win an MVP within the next 4 years. Like, he's
dirty.
He's nasty. And I like that, like him, Maxey, not that I'm comparing the two as far as, like, stardom, but I like when you're a young guy and you make your playoff debut and that shit don't matter to you. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just another day in the office. You drop 36.
True.
Maxey drops 38. Like, the moment wasn't too big for him.
Poole drop. You know, like,
right.
those some of those players. Like, all right, cool. The league's in good hands. They got these young guys that it's just like, I'm here.
So I'm excited for this one. I'm still not counting out Memphis.
I still think Memphis does the thing.
I do too. Like, I'm not overreacting. That's the only loss. That's the only team that lost in the first round that I would still probably bet on. Mm-hmm. Like, everyone else that lost, I'm kind of like, and the Nets. I'd say the Nets and Memphis are the only two teams that lost a game in the first round so far that we've been talking about.
Mavs?
I don't know about Luka, man. I don't feel as confident.
He has to come back.
Yeah. Because, I mean, dude, when the odds came out for that series, it was basically a pick 'em on who's going to win. And then when they announced them out for game 1, the Jazz were like minus 300.
Yeah, he's out game 2 already, too. So they did show him getting some, like, shots up. So, like, he's making progress. But at the same time, are you going to risk your franchise, your future, like, with this calf injury? Like,
yo, think about, and there's a cool way to, I mean, not cool because we're going to talk about someone getting hurt, but there's a fascinating way to discuss Kawhi Leonard, man.
Yo.
Think about Kawhi, right? Kawhi gets hurt last year in the playoffs, then misses the playoffs this year because they didn't make the playoffs because he was out. So basically, Kawhi, with one injury, missed 2 playoff runs.
Yes.
Yeah, he played in the playoffs last year, but he got hurt in the playoffs towards ACL.
Mm-hmm.
So then they crash and burn because they didn't have Kawhi. And then he misses all of this year and the playoffs this year. So when you get hurt, Odell in the Super Bowl, he ain't going to be back till like November, bro.
Yeah.
If that.
If that.
That's best case scenario. And then it's a confidence thing. It's a mental thing. Oh, shit, this is the second time that I blow out my knee if I'm Odell. Kawhi, this is the second time I have some knee problems. So before you know it, you've missed a bunch of time. Klay Thompson, Durant, when they get hurt, when you get hurt this late in the year, it's devastating.
It's devastating.
Bro.
It kills your team, and
like it's always whack because you could turn around and be like, one conversation I have sometimes with friends is like when you take someone in fantasy, right? Like you take someone in the first round and they get hurt week 1 or 2. It's like, damn, I lost him for the year. But then it's even worse if you take him in the preseason and he gets hurt, right? But it's like, all right, so what's the difference? Like this guy's still gonna miss the year, but
you lost that value.
But you lost him before the season started, but then you lost him week 1 also. So like at the end, you still lose him regardless. Yeah. But it's like a mental thing. It's like, damn, if I take this guy or I bet this guy or even, I just signed this new free agent. My team just got this new free agent and they're out before the season even starts. It's like, fuck.